Think of this like the movie The Wedding Planner, and she's got the bag filled with all of the things that somebody might need. Lip balm or Kleenex or a comb or, of course, a mirror. I'd love for it to be a full-length mirror. Maybe a snack, some water. Just be prepared with anything somebody might need to make them feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more ready to do what you're asking them to do. And obviously you're asking them a favor, right? And so let's make this a really hospitable space and roll out the red carpet for them. How are entrepreneurs like us daring bravely to build a stage, ditch the sweatpants, and step up to the mic? How do we create our own transformative events so we can get our message out into the world in a bigger way that's not only profitable, but it's actually something we can be proud of? That's the question. And the answers are inside this podcast. My name is Sarah Pfeiffer. Welcome to Green Room Central. Isn't it true that video testimonials are one of the most powerful tools in our marketing tool belts? When done well, they can help build credibility and establish trust and drive sales. And I happen to think that events are one of the most goldmine opportunities that we have for filming those video testimonials. And so right now, I am going to share some pro tips with you for how to film compelling video testimonials at your next event. Don't miss this. So I have been responsible for filming dozens and dozens and dozens of video testimonials during events throughout my 20 plus year career in events. And as a result of that, I happen to have some very strong feelings on the topic. And so I wanted to share them with you, and in the hopes that it's going to really help you when it comes to your time for your next event, and hopefully give you the tactics that you need and also the courage to make it happen, because I know it's a lot of extra work during what is already a really busy time. I think doing so many videos, producing so many videos during events helped me understand where it can be stressful, where planning ahead is helpful, what's needed when you're on site. And so I thought we'd talk about all that. The first thing I want to talk about is the types of videos that you can shoot. And so there's kind of like two types. You can do the on-the-spot type, where you maybe have a backdrop set up and you have a film crew and you invite people as they're funneling out of your event to just step to the side and share their candid conversations. Or you have a roving film crew just capturing in the moment joy or ahas. Those are all fabulous. And I'm a huge, huge fan. I also think that makes, when you have video crews out and about at your event, it makes for absolutely fantastic B-roll that works great to mix in with testimonial videos for more of a sizzle reel type thing that's going on a social media or in a long form sizzle reel that you'd put on your sales page. So that's the kind of on the spot, on the fly type of testimonial videos. The other type is prearranged, where you've set aside a dedicated space with the film crew and the lighting and the backdrop that you want and the chair you want and all the things set up so that when it's time, you can bring people into a soundproof area and have a direct-to-camera, thoughtful, more in-depth recording of their testimonial. And so that's actually what we are going to focus on during this episode, is that prearranged style of video testimonial, and specifically for in-person events. Now, I'll just give you a quick aside. If you're doing a virtual event, I love to ask people at the end of the virtual event if they want to hang out in the Zoom with me as the event wraps up, and then just to have them just bring someone on, pin their video, and spotlight it, whatever the term is, spotlight, pin it, and ask them the questions that you'd want to ask. And everyone will who wants to stay will stay, and the people who want to drop off will drop off. And then you just ask them the questions, and then everyone will watch who's decided to stay, because everyone is a voyeur to some capacity, and they love to be able to see the interaction between you and that guest, and they'll wait their turn, and then you just do one by one, and it works fabulous. So let's go back to in-person, prearranged video testimonials during your event. First thing we're going to talk about is planning ahead. And the reason why this is so important is that events are already a busy time. Duh, Sarah, right? But they are. And adding shooting during the event adds another layer of complexity. And so I want you to be aware that that is a thing. It will add more work for your team. And because it's such a busy time, this isn't something to just add the week before the event or during the event, because there's just a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people that you need and team that you need involved. So I highly recommend that you just make everything flow so much smoother by planning ahead. And as you're planning ahead, and I'm thinking like earlier than 4 weeks out from your event, what you should be considering is logistics. So where are you going to do this? It needs to be soundproof. There's nothing more annoying when you're filming a video that when you have to pause and that stream of consciousness gets interrupted because the sound is coming into the room from somewhere else. So it needs to be a space, and ideally a space without air walls, like with like regular physical walls. I don't like to put video testimonials into a ballroom section that has a air wall. It just isn't soundproof enough. And then think about lighting. Honestly, it kind of is nice if it's just like a windowless room because then you can add all the lighting that you need to get it just right. You don't have to worry about drawing the shades and covering up light that is messing with the shot. But you might prefer a really amazing, like beautiful room that has windows and a great view, or maybe it's outside. And so then you'll just need to bring in the lighting to to compensate. But that's a conversation to have with your film crew in advance, so that they know what equipment they need to bring in order to support your vision. We were shooting some videos with an inexperienced videographer at a recent event I went to, and we were shooting outside in the shade, but there was a very bright, beautiful, stunning backdrop. And the footage just looks a little dark, and the faces and the eye contact is just not as direct as we'd like it to be. And it really speaks to the fact that an inexperienced videographer was hired who didn't bring the right equipment. And so, or maybe wasn't aware that that's where the shooting was going to happen, and only brought stuff for indoor shots. So have that conversation in advance. And then also like the logistically, who is going to be helping you with this? Because I don't recommend that you make this a one woman or one man show where you're trying to film this and also run an event. So I highly recommend that you're hiring this out, or assigning someone from your team to bring the equipment and set it up and just be in charge of this task in completely so that you don't have to be a part of it. Then beyond logistics of just what you should be considering ahead of time is content. So what's it going to be for, and what content do you need? And what do I mean by that is this going to be a horizontal, like full length 1 to 2, 3 minute sizzle reel about your event? Is it going to be a vertical social media clip? Is it going to put it in your stories? Where are you going to use it? Because that helps inform the type of equipment that you need. Do you need to be filming vertical and horizontal at the same time? I highly recommend it because you never know what you might need later. And then, do you need B-roll? Another question to ask is, what questions will you be asking the person who's giving the testimonials? I really love it when you stick to a framework. There's a great one inside the StoryBrand book. Just like 5 simple questions. And when you stitch together the answers, it just makes the most beautiful testimonial video. So know what you're going to ask in advance so you can get the content that you need. And then also know where you're going to use the video so that you shoot in the format that you need and that you shoot all the stuff that you need. Do you need B-roll of this person walking around your event or doing their thing, whatever it is? So think about that. And then also think about scheduling and communicating in advance. For these more formal sit down testimonial videos, think of it kind of like a case study perhaps. I do love to schedule them in advance so that your event guests isn't caught off guard that this is something that you want from them during a break or during a lunch or after the event ends on day 1, so that they can schedule around it as well. And also, it's nice to send them the questions in advance so that they can think through their answers. I think people love that courtesy. And so I think that's why I think it's so important to schedule in advance and then also be really clear with the communication about when and where. So that's the planning ahead. It's logistics, it's content, it's scheduling and communicating. And now let's move on to conducting the interviews on site. So of course, team is involved, right? We talked about that. And what I want you to do is really be clear about whose role is what. And I love to have, obviously the video team is in the room, but then I also love to have someone from your team sitting with the video team to ensure that if another take needs to be done, it's asked for. If it needs to be said a little bit differently, that ask happens. So I always love to have someone from your team sitting in the room the whole time the interview is happening alongside the videographer. And also just checking framing. So I also like to have a team member stationed outside of the room. And the purpose for that person is to be the person who's queuing people up. So it's making sure, obviously, nobody goes in when you're filming, but it's also getting the next person ready so that they're kind of, on deck and ready to go in. And because sometimes people will forget that they had a scheduled interview and they'll need to be tracked down. And so that just can't be done by the people who are in the room. So it's essential to have another person from your team on outside of the room tasks. The other thing the outside of the room person can be doing is just making sure that the green room is set up and has everything that it needs. And if things need to be refreshed, go ahead. But I love to have a green room where people can wait. And I love for there to be a mirror there because everyone likes to check how they look before they go on video. And so have a basket of the basics there just in case. Think of this like the movie The Wedding Planner, and she's got the bag filled with all of the things that somebody might need. Lip balm or Kleenex or a comb or, of course, a mirror. I'd love for it to be a full-length mirror. Maybe a snack, some water. Just be prepared with anything somebody might need to make them feel a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more ready to do what you're asking them to do. And obviously you're asking them a favor, right? And so let's make this a really hospitable space and roll out the red carpet for them. How are you feeling? Has that been helpful? I know I probably went through this kind of fast. And I'm hoping that what you're feeling right now is encouraged, that when you put in the extra effort to make this happen at your next event, it will pay off. And I want to underline that it is too valuable of an opportunity to let pass you by. And so I really encourage you to add the filming of video testimonials to your next event. And hopefully this answered some of your questions about what it takes. And if you have more, drop them into my DMs over on Instagram and I will brainstorm with you and help you get the answer that you need. Take care. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for listening to the Green Room Central podcast. If you loved this episode, then please take a screenshot on your phone and post it to Instagram, and be sure to tag @SarahPfeiffer and let me know why you liked it and what you'd like to hear or who you'd like to hear from in the future. That'll help me know what to create for you. The number one thing I'm asked by CEOs, whether it's their first event or their 20th, is, Sarah, how do I get more butts in seats? And so I put together a guide for you. Head over to fillingevents.com for your free copy of 107 ways to fill your event. I want to help you quickly master event marketing and fill your events, even if you've never done it before. I've scoured the online business world and found 107 of my favorite strategies working right now to fill your next in-person or virtual event. Create the event promotion plan you need from these easy-to-implement, customizable strategies for free over at fillingevents.com. I appreciate your commitment to leveling up and learning the mindset and strategy of live events. Keep going. Keep learning. If you want more, head over to greenroomcentral.com for show notes and all the links from today's episode.